Hi, my name is Luis Alonso from the Reyes Company, and I'm going to show you how overlapping requirements metric works with this video tutorial. The goal of this metric is to check if there are redundant or duplicate requirements within the same specification. This analysis is done by means of transforming the requirements from both specifications into formal representations, and then using mathematical graph algorithms to compare those representations to get a similarity quantitative value. This value will be the similarity ratio between the requirement from the source specification and the one belonging to the target. This process is run for each requirement from the source specification against every requirement of the target specification. Let's say if we have 1000 requirements in the source and 2000 requirements in the target, there will be 2 million operations to be done. A parameter of the metric configuration is the threshold to filter the computed similarity for each requirement pair. If it is lower to it, the metric assumes that they are not redundant requirements. Otherwise, the requirements have to be revised because there is some kind of similarity. The final score is computed using the ratio between the number of source requirements with overlapping issues and all source requirements. After the theory, it's time to show the metric. We will use the bicycle specification stored in an Excel workbook as in many other demo videos. Then we are connected with RQA to the project containing this spec. So we go to the workbook configuration tab, then select the source worksheet, go to the consistency button and create a new overlapping metric by using the contextual menu option. We rename it into duplicate requirements 50% and then we go for configure overlapping consistency metric. The source worksheet is automatically set to the current one, bicycle requirements, and then we select the target worksheet from the current connection and the same worksheet. Then we check that the pattern groups to create a formal representation are the suitable ones. In this case it's fine. The creation and edition of pattern groups and patterns is out of scope for this metric. Please revise other video tutorials of Knowledge Manager for this purpose. Then we have to select the threshold to filter the similarity values. In this case, we leave it at 50% as initial value and we will increase it if necessary in an iterative way. Finally, we click on Accept for this particular metric configuration and Accept for the general parameters for each consistency metric. Now, automatically, the metric comes with a predefined quality function. This function turns the quantitative value into a qualitative value, high, medium or low. Definitions of quality functions is not in the scope of this metric video. Then, switching back to quality control and then consistency button, we can access the new metric. Just select the metric, right-click on the mouse and select Recalculate Quality. After some moments, the result will be displayed. The result is 0.4, what means 40% of incompleteness. This figure implies that 4 out of the 10 requirements have overlapping problems. Just select the metric, right-click with the button of the mouse and then selecting View Quality will show further information of this metric assessment. The first pie chart focuses on the ratio described before. The total number of requirements in the spec is 10. Out of them, only 4 have overlapping considerations. The second pie chart focus on the comparisons evaluated by the metric, as each requirement has been compared to every other requirement, we have analyzed 90 possibilities, and out of them, only 7 have similarity over the threshold, 50%. In the second tab, overlapping, it shows the requirement pairs. These pairs are sorted by similarity descendantly. Opening the contextual menu over any pair will allow different operations. So similar pairs will display the requirement statements back to back. We can also edit source requirement, edit target requirement, delete source requirement, delete target requirement. In our case, the deletion options will be the most valuable ones. We can delete the overlapping requirement from this menu. The next tab, Requirements, shows the computed pairs of similar requirements from a different perspective. From source, each requirement from the source is similar to some requirements in the target, the other way around, from the target to the source. The contextual menu options essentially are the same than in the previous tab. Show pair, edit requirement, or delete the duplicate requirement. In any case, in the top of the tab there is a slider which moves the threshold. As you can see, it will be better here to modify the threshold to shrink the result set. In our case, if we move it to 80%, we can see that we can read the pairs with a lower than 80% similarity. In this case, those pairs were not really duplicate requirements. The slider is only for information. It is not safe. Okay? So we have to go to the configuration tab and recalculate to get 80% similarity metrics. Finally, it is the filtering tab and shows how the specification is filtered. In this case, the only filter to be taken into account is the one separating those requirements which are really requirements from those rows which are not. This has been already set up in the worksheet configuration, but in our case we have not that filter. Select the source or the target, in our case it's the same spec, and then navigate through the requirement matching the filters or the requirements not matching the filters. Now, as we have described before, we would like to change the threshold to 80% and then recalculate. Let's do it. There is still 10% of inconsistency, but the number of pairs with no similarity has been reduced to only 1.11%. Now we go to the overlapping tab, and then we are going to proceed to delete a duplicate requirement and see how the metric performs again. In this case, we delete the target. Now we recalculate. Now we can see that the value for the metric has been reduced to 0.00% and the metric quality has been improved from low to high quality. Typically, this iterative process is not done in a single step, but repeated several times until there are no overlapping problems. This is the overlapping requirement metric. Thank you for watching.